Here's my complete guide to networking. Hey, it's me, Jonathan, your finance bro. And I don't think it's a secret that a lot of job applications have gotten a lot more competitive, specifically for entry-level jobs. I think there's a lot of really qualified people coming out of college or who are very early on in their career with limited job experience that probably look very, very similar on paper. They probably have very similar, resumes. Like most investment banking applications are people who go to a very good school with a very good GPA that have some sort of like coursework in finance, who have some extracurriculars in finance, and maybe an internship prior, in some sort of financial role. And they kind of all look the same after a while. So it's really important to try and differentiate yourself from other potential like job applicants. And one of the best ways to do that is by networking. And for you guys' reference, I have a like 3-step guide. It's like the email template, the actual conversation itself, and then the follow-up email template, and then like how you cycle through that to ultimately try to get an interview. And that's like up on my Instagram. It's like in the little highlight story. So if you guys want to see like the actual steps to take, and I'll talk through them here in more detail, but like the actual templates that I'll be referring to are on my Instagram. And I just want to like lay the backdrop of like, what is the purpose of networking beyond ultimately trying to get an interview and get a job? And I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that the person that they're networking with needs to become their best friend. This person needs to like them so much. They just make such a great connection. And I think that's where people go wrong pretty quickly. I would describe the relationship that you want with the person you're networking with. You want it to be like, like that friend that you had at school, like the kid you were always friendly with at school, you would hang out with in class, but you wouldn't hang out with outside of school. You got along, you were friendly, but you were kind of in this gray area between friendly and friends. That's what you would like with the person that you're networking with. Like cordial, you get along with them, but you're not like necessarily buddy-buddy. And that kind of segues into like my first, thing I want to talk about again before I get into like the actual step-by-step framework, which is like some common mistakes that people make. And I get a ton of networking emails, like people like reaching out to me. I got a ton when I was in banking, and in other parts of finance. And one of the big mistakes is, addressing people by their last name. Never do that. A lot of college kids do that. Just don't address people by their last name. It's a huge mistake. But the bigger one is that I get paragraphs from people. Paragraphs explaining their entire life story, every sort of adversity they've overcome, their like last 6 internships back to being a lifeguard in like the 9th grade. And this is not to like, not credit people's, like overcoming challenges. I think a lot of those things are fantastic, but imagine like a stranger coming up to you on the street and being like, "Hello, my name is Jonathan. I'm formerly a student at Duke University. I used to be in investment banking and then I moved to the buy side and blah, 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 blah. Now I post, videos on the internet and like all this stuff, and how overwhelming that'd be. And like, these are all the challenges I've had in my life. Like that is way too much information to be just like dumping on someone over an email. And I'll give an example of, and this like actually happened to me. I was like on a networking call. This was talking to a guy, and he goes, "Tell me something about yourself that no one else knows." I don't understand what makes people think that's a good question. Well, one, I don't think it's like a appropriate professional corporate question to ask, but two, like even if it was, like if my parents don't know about this, if my sister doesn't know about it, if my best friends don't know about it, if my girlfriend doesn't know about it, if like people who are close to me in my life don't know about this thing about me, why would I tell someone on the phone that I'm speaking to for the first time 15 minutes ago? Like that's the point I'm trying to make here is you want them to get along with you. You want them to think that you're going to be a good cultural fit, but they don't need to be your best friend. And ultimately, the message that you want to convey to this person is that you can help them, that you are a smart, articulate, intelligent person who's qualified for the job. Because ultimately, they're not doing charity work. They will want to hire you. They will want to help you get the interview and get the job if they feel like you can help them, right? Like they need to feel that like when you start, if they're a junior person, you'll take work off their plate. You'll be useful. You won't be a liability. Or if they're a senior person, that if they were staffed on a deal with you, that they could give you instructions and you could actually go and execute on them. Like they want to feel that you will be able to help them and the company and the firm or whatever it is that you will be doing. And if they feel that, then they will be more inclined to want to help you get the interview and get the job, right? Like that's just makes sense. That's how that works. So now that I put like all that preamble to the side, I want to talk about the actual like tangible steps that I would take to set myself up for a networking call, what I would do on that networking call, and how I would try to segue that into ultimately getting an interview and a job offer. So use whatever platform it is, any social media platform, alumni network, alumni networking events, in-person events, whatever it might be, and try to get as many people's contact as possible, and try to figure out do some research on them, and try to get whatever the most, I don't want to say personal, but like salient connection is that you have with them. Like if you were both on the baseball team at Duke, mention that. Like that's like something that's like that's really interesting. Like not that many people were on the baseball team at Duke. Like something that you overlap with. School is a good one. Sports, prior employment, stuff like that. Those are all good ones. And basically make the email, I don't want to say make it informal, but don't make it super rigid and super structured. Just be like, hey, or I would say hi, but like, hi, Jonathan, like, nice to meet you. I'm currently a student at Duke. Blah, blah, blah. I saw that we have this connection, this thing coming out. We're both on the Duke baseball team as an example. I'm really interested in investment banking. It'd be really great if you had a couple minutes sometime this week or next week. I can make any time that you're free work. To just learn more and phrase it as you want to learn, phrase it as that you're interested, phrase it as you're curious. Do not phrase it as like you're begging them for a job. And when you get on that call, what you're going to want to do is come prepared with as many questions as possible. And those questions are going to want to demonstrate that you understand the market, you understand the job, and you understand the company, and that you're smart. And that looks something like, oh, like I saw that your bank worked on this deal. I'm really interested in that space. Could you talk a bit about it? Oh, I've noticed like this trend in banking. Could you talk a bit about like the direction that's going in? And the best possible thing that can happen during a networking call is for you to ask just a handful of questions, and for that person to ramble on and on and on, kind of like I'm doing in this video, for the full 30 minutes. Like if you talk for 1 minute and they talk for 29 minutes, like 10 minutes roughly for 3 questions that you ask, that's the best possible outcome. People love to hear themselves talk. And you just want to guide them. You just want to be a guiding hand to make them know that you're like smart and intelligent and aware, and try to get them to like you. Not they don't need to be your best friend again, but just like, this person could fit in. I could want to be at the office at midnight with this person. They wouldn't annoy me. Like that's like the goal that you're going for here, right? And after the call ends, you're going to want to send them a thank you note, and you're basically going to want to thank them and hit on the thing that you talked about that was like the biggest commonality that you guys had, just so they remember who you are. In case they're like networking with like 20 other college kids all named Jonathan, right? It's like make sure that you put what was unique about you that made you guys have that connection, and ask them to introduce you to other people in the group at the firm. And again, this is all on my Instagram. You can see the templates. Like I actually just like literally have the email written out. Like feel free to use it. I think it's a really great template. And talk to as many people as possible. But I would say the minimum is probably 4 to 5 people. And when you get to that 4th or 5th or maybe 6th person, and it's a senior person, it's important to understand that senior people have the most sway. Like a senior person can pull your resume out of the resume stack and get you an interview. They could practically get you the job. Whereas like an analyst or an associate is probably not going to be able to do that. So you want to get to the point where you're speaking to a senior person and you've spoken to like 4 or 5 other people before them, and you want to explain like, I've spoken to all these people. I think I have a good understanding of the job. I have a good understanding of the company, the group, the industry, all these things. And I'm really, really excited. I'm really, really really interested. And I was curious if you guys have any opportunities, if I could apply, like what it looks like for next summer to get an internship. And that is like the best possible thing you can do. Again, like it's important not to come across as like super desperate. Like I need this job. Like please, like I've been working so hard like all 4 years of college. Like it's not what you want to frame it as. It's I have spoken to people. I myself am smart. Like don't say that, but like articulate that. And I think I have a good understanding of what this is going to take, and I think I'm a good fit for it. And I would love to work at your company. And then take it from there. And hopefully, ultimately, that segues into that person liking you, pulling your resume out of the resume stack, and you getting an interview. And hopefully, you can look at some of my interview guides and interview resources I have on my pages and get the job offer. So yeah, that's how I would network. That's the structure and the framework and general guidance that I would recommend. And I hope that was helpful for you guys.